Hello. So the house is quiet. I thought I'd finally take one more crack at doing an instructional video. This is for my dad who joined us in a couple of games, but could probably use a little bit more introduction to the game, how to play it, and so on. So I'm using one of these creative worlds instead of the actual game to do this, just because it's a good place to for a demonstration. Um, So when you get thrown into the game and you're in the battle royale, you start on the battle bus and you jump out and skydive down from the island. And all you have is one of these pickaxes. And the job is, well, one of the first things you want to do is to find yourself a weapon. And usually you want to find a building to land on because they're usually, it's usually stuff in the buildings. Um, so I'm going to cut out, I'm going to cut and no, sorry. Before we do anything else, um, controls. So if you want to actually check how the keyboard is set up, press Escape, or if you're in the main menu, the menu's up in the top right. Um, Settings, and there's this tab over here, the keyboard setup, and it'll tell you actually what all the different buttons do. And it's quite a long list, but there's duplication. Like the same buttons will do different things depending on the circumstance. Um, and actually, while we're here, if you select preset, make sure you're on standard default, accept, and apply. That'll sort of make sure we're on the same page. And the other thing while we're here is very useful in the game in the sound settings on this tab. Make sure visualize sound effects is on. I find that extremely useful in the game. I don't know how people would manage without it really. Anyway, so yeah, so that's that. Let's go back. So, having got our keyboard just to the defaults, um, basic movement, like I think I described this before, is left hand on the keyboard. You put your middle finger on W, index finger on D, ring finger on A, my thumb is on the space bar, and my pinky is on the left control. Um, and you're kind of using all of these in combination to move around. Um, what you'll kind of notice is, yeah, so W moves you forward, S moves you back, D moves you right, A moves you left. And this is continuing to look in the same direction. So then you're going to start using your right hand with the mouse to steer and to look around. You want to look up, look down, left, right. And so while you're running, use the mouse to turn left or right, or to whip around and go backwards. You're using the mouse and the left hand, mouse in the right hand, keyboard on the left hand in combination to do more complicated movement. And then throw in a space to jump, space bar jump, or control to crouch. And crouching slows you down a little bit, makes you better able to hide behind objects. And I think also when it comes to being heard by other players, crouching should make you a little quieter. If you're already crouching, space will just make you stand up, and then space again will make you jump. And that's almost all. That's pretty much all there is to it. You run. You'll notice after you start moving forward, he starts to run, and running is the default. And you can hold shift. The left shift will slow you down into sort of a trot or closer to a walk. And if you're crouched, regular crouch is this fast, and then holding shift, you'll go just creep that much slower. And then so that's movement. And I think the next thing we should do is let's skydive to get some guns. So imagine you're in the real game. I'm going to cut the recording here, and we're going to fall down from the sky. Ready, set, shake. So in the game, you jump out of the bus and you're falling into the sky, and you're looking around and seeing towns and buildings, and you want to pick a house to land on. And if you press W while you're falling, you'll fall that much quicker. And your glider will open up before you hit the ground, so don't worry about that. So you land on the roof, and basically, sort of a side note is that basically everything in the world that you encounter is going to be breakable with your pickaxe. They call it your harvesting tool because you're harvesting the materials. So you can hit the roof, break into the roof, you can break the walls. And while I'm doing this, you can kind of see those logs being zipped into my person, or in this case bricks flying off the wall and collecting the bricks. So now, if you look in the lower right corner of the screen, I've got 231 bricks and 231 logs and wood and 211 bricks. And in this attic, we have a treasure chest, which I placed here, but you'll find them in the game, looking like this. E, the E key you'll use a lot to open the chests and open doors and activate other things that you might come across. And so I've just loaded up with 5 guns. I don't really need all these different guns. Rocket launcher. And the other thing you'll see a lot of in the game is these green boxes which have bullets. And those bullets just fell off the side of the roof. So get those. And we'll run over here and get some more bullets. E picks them up, or with bullets usually they'll be automatically picked up. That's some more same guns. And your inventory, down in the lower right again, you've always got your harvesting tool, and you've got 5 spots for weapons or other stuff like bandages or other items. And so once you're filled up with items, they won't automatically be picked up anymore. Like, I'm not automatically picking up this pistol because I'm full, but I can trade it for the submachine gun with E. You can trade back and forth with stuff in your inventory. But while I'm talking about that, just choose between these. You can see on the screen below those boxes, there's an F for the harvesting tool, and F will toggle between your weapons and your harvesting tool. F, 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 back and forth. Or you can roll the mouse wheel to go through all 6 positions. Or you can press the number along the top row of your keyboard to go straight to the number 1, number 2, 3, 4, 5 directly. So that's how you choose weapons. And now I've got some weapons and some bullets. Let's quickly talk about... Oh yeah, you can fall about 3 stories before you take damage. That's one other thing to be aware of. You can jump off of house roofs without much concern, but basically a 4-story house would hurt you. Okay, so I should talk about building now. So right now we're in the gun mode, or whatever I don't know what you want to call it. It's regular shooting mode. But to get into building mode, you can either press Q to pull out your blueprints and get ready to start putting up walls, or you can go straight to those keys above those things. So you can either go to Z for walls, X for a floor, C for a ramp, V does these sort of top pyramid things, and there's a slot for Y, which is special items like launch pads and other stuff that you might come across later. So while we're in building mode, we can choose the material type with the right mouse click. So I could just switch it to a brick pyramid. Right click again. I don't have any metal yet, but metal would, so then I can switch back, right click again, Q, right click, now I'm back on wood. And so, sorry, another side note is back on weapons, your left click is to shoot the gun, and right click gives you the aim down sights function, which really just gives you a little bit better perspective for aiming. And depending on the gun, it'll do a better or worse, like it'll give you more of a zoom. Some guns will give you kind of a close-up, like give you a scope like this is a sniper gun. Sometimes it'll just be sort of more zoomed in than other guns. But right click does that, aim, and you can hold right click while you press the left click, or you can just left click from this position. And so when you're building, if you go back to Q again, into building mode, or I don't use Q very much, I actually usually just go straight to the wall type you want with the key. Right click changes your material, and left click actually puts it in place. Okay, so that's building. And actually what I've done to be extra fast about it is I've got extra buttons on my mouse, so I can do a really quick ramp or a really quick wall when I need one just with my thumb on the mouse. So anyway, so we've found guns, we've got some materials for building, and I'm gonna go up on this roof because I placed a few other treasure chests up here. These are the other items you can find. You can find big med kits. These will restore you to 100% of your health, the green bar. Flopper fish will give you 50 health really quick. These bandages, small bandages, will get you up to 75 health, but stop there. And they only give you 15 at a time, so they're kind of time consuming to use those. Shield potions are going to be a blue bar. So if I take one of these little guys here, it takes an inventory slot. I got to trade a gun for it. And now I've got one shield potion. I can drink it, and those will give you maximum up to 50. So now I've got, in the lower left, my blue bar is up to 25, so I've got 25 shield. And I'm going to pick up a bigger shield potion and drink it. It's going to give me 50. And those big ones can get you up to 100 shield. And this is shield in a splash can. So you can splash your teammates or you can splash yourself and get 20 shield. And then pick your guns up again if you're done with those or if you've used them